Hey, and one of the talks that I went to when I was away last week at our national gathering for our network, the speaker talked about how the typical setup of a Benedictine monastery was that between the places where the monks lived and worked and then where they went to eat was their cemetery. Because what the monks would do when they made a vow to join the monastery is they made a vow to live out their days and to die there. And in the cemetery, they always had one grave that was freshly dug and open, which was for the next monk who died to be buried in. And so every day, these monks would be reminded of their someday death, and that in fact it might be coming very soon for one of them. And they thought it was a good thing, because they thought that to be constantly reminded of their death was an impetus for them to consider how they lived and to live well. Well, I'm sitting here in the sanctuary right in front of the place where we have coffins when we have funeral services. And it seems to me that, like the Benedictine community, it's good for us also to be thinking about and to have conscious before ourselves the fact that someday we are going to die, because it can be a great impetus for us to consider how we're living, and to be living, not just for the virtues that go on our resumes, but rather for the things that will be said about us at our eulogies, about our character, about ways that we loved people and were used of God to bless people, and some of the ways that our lives were aligned with the values, the priorities, the ways of Jesus, who conquered death and who also had and continues to have the most positive impact of any person who ever graced our planet. It strikes me that the Apostle Paul, in probably his most joyful and upbeat letter, the letter to the Philippians, says in the first chapter, he says, "For me to live is Christ, to die is gain." And you see, friends, it's not a morbid or scary thing to consider the fact that we're going to die when, like Paul, we know that to die is gain. In fact, it might even be a real motivator for us to say, like Paul, "For me to live is to live for Christ." Well, thanks so much for your time today, friends, and God bless you real well today.